Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Diane Abbot is a stupid, obnoxious, hate-filled, ignorant piece of human filth. There is no other way to describe her. Every time she opens her mouth, you are deafened by the stupid. You are offended by the things she says. You look at her and can't understand how a woman of such obviously low IQ has been allowed to be an MP for Hackney for so long. The people of Hackney deserve better. This woman has room temperature IQ. When she speaks like, well, I have to speak slowly because I need my brain to think. Because, you see, it doesn't work at the same speed as normal people, because I've got an IQ hovering around the 60s. She once said that black women make the best mothers. She also said that white people benefit from the wealth, the class and the privilege. Well, her son benefited from having a black mother and also went to a very expensive private school. How did that work out? Well, he ended up in prison for dealing certain pharmaceuticals. So she's full of crap anyway. But the woman is also deeply, deeply offensive. I mean, she's innumerate, we know. She doesn't know the difference between thousands and millions, and indeed doesn't know how to operate a pair of shoes. She famously left the house during the last campaign wearing 2 different shoes. But it is the offensive nature of everything that she says that has finally caught up with her. And the Labour Party have removed the whip, and not before time. It's about time this woman, who sees everything through the lens of colour, was taught a lesson. She was given all the laws. You're not allowed to be racist, you're not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. And that wasn't good enough for her, because she has this need of victimhood. She has a need to be the victim, because by being the victim it gives her the ability to do and say things that she couldn't otherwise do. And when these laws were brought in that everyone could be subjected to the same laws, she absolutely hated it. And they're now she's now as well one of these, trying to redefine what racism is. Racism is this now. It's colorism, it's this, it's that, it's that. Because what they don't like is the fact that people who are not black can be the victims of racism. And she today has said some awful things, and the people who are the victims of racism from her mouth are white people, and she hates it, and she has caused so much offence that even Labour, who absolutely don't like Jewish people, we know this, the years of Corbynism and the terrible things that happened to Jewish members in the Labour Party. The Labour Party is deeply anti-Semitic. They've been trying their best to do it. And then this ignorant bitch opens her mouth and offends just about every Jewish person in the country and everyone with red hair. So if you happen to have a touch of Irish or Scottish in you, you're in for it. Anyway, we'll have a look at this article that's finally convinced the Labour Party that it's time to tell Diane Abbot to go fuck off, and not before time. So Diane Abbot loses the whip after suggesting Jewish people do not face racism. The MP claimed in a letter to the Observer that white people with points of difference are not subject to racism all their lives. This woman, who you can see from this picture doesn't know how to operate a very cheap wig, has obviously never heard of the Second World War and what happened just before it in Germany, or the pogroms of Russia, or the pogroms all through history. She has no concept of Jewish history, and yet apparently the Jews are not subject to the Jews are not subject to racism. That's how she would have said it, because she's stupid, she is ignorant, and she is offensive, and she sits there pontificate on things she knows bugger all about because it doesn't fit with her victim mentality. This is a woman who's been professional victim her whole life. It's the only reason she's got a seat. Nobody would employ her in any other respect because of how stupid she is. For some reason the Labour Party have put up with her, and now she's done this in a Labour Party that's struggling to get over the anti-Semitism it suffered all those years with Corbynism. And then she opens her ignorant gob to carry on. But it ain't just stopping there. Diane Abbot was stripped of the Labour whip on Sunday after she suggested that Jewish people do not suffer racism all their lives. Miss Abbott, who served as Jeremy Corbyn's shadow Home Secretary and lover, he used to bring her in. This is a true story. When he was there with her, he used to go. Can you just imagine Jeremy Corbyn, right, in his little what's his name? Is it little Lenin hat and his pair of grey underpants, opening the door with his still got his socks on, you know, opening the door, bringing people in. And this is a true story. I'm not making this up. And he would bring people in and take them into the bedroom where Diane Abbott was lying naked in a bed to show people that he was banging Diane Abbott. I kid you not. I am not making this up. This is genuinely true. It makes you want to reach for the bucket. But it's anyway. But this is true. Anyway, getting back to the story. Anyway, so Miss Abbott, who served as Jeremy Corbyn's shadow Home Secretary, wrote in a letter to the Observer that although white people, and she calls with points of difference, encounter prejudice, they have not been subject to the same racism as black people. Let me tell you something, Diane. Number one, white people have been enslaved. White people suffer racism. White people have had just a torrid time of it as black people. The difference is, my darling, is that it was black people who invented slavery, the Arabic races that made money from slavery, and white people who fought wars all over the world to end slavery. Now, please understand that that is actually true, and then you can go and boil your head, you horrible piece of human filth. She said, it is true that many types of white people with points of difference, such as redheads, can experience this prejudice, she said, but they are not all their lives subject to racism. In pre-civil rights America, Irish people, Jewish people and travellers were not required to sit at the back of the bus. Diane, at what point were you ever required to sit at the back of a bus? You don't speak for these people. You don't speak for people in America. You're from this country. We've never had that in this country because you know, and you know it, but you've got to find this victim mentality. You've got to keep pushing the victimhood because it's all you've got. You haven't got intelligence. You haven't got talent. You haven't got ability. You haven't even got job experience. You've done nothing with your life except for be a professional victim. Well, it won't wash like you. Anyway, she said, in apartheid South Africa, these groups were allowed to vote, and at the height of slavery, there were no white-seeming people manacled on slave ships. This woman's a moron, because I tell you what, at the height of slavery, yes, there were. White people were manacled. White people were enslaved. This woman knows nothing. Nothing. Who employs her? Who said that she would make a good MP? Why has the Labour Party put up with her for so long? She must have pictures or something, because there's no way this woman deserves any kind of platform. Anyway, her comments come against the backdrop of historical claims of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. It's not claims, it's proof. We know it's happened. This is a problem Sir Keir has been keen to stamp out since taking the reins as leader. Miss Abbott was critiquing an article by Tomiwa Owolade which cited research suggesting Jewish people are among those most likely to say they have experienced racist abuse. And according to Miss Abbott's astonishing comments, Mr Owolade claimed the letter showed a remarkable lack of judgment and suggested it would not have been a thoughtless exercise. No, she took her time to sit down and write it. Has the woman not got any understanding of history? Obviously not. She doesn't even know what's happening in her own family. The moron, the stupidity, the level of absolute low IQ shown by this woman should absolutely mean she is out. Labour need to not just remove the whip, they need to disown her and throw her out. And next election come and say, no, Diane, you're not selected. Go out, you're done. Labour condemned Miss Abbott's deeply offensive remarks and confirmed that the whip had been suspended pending an investigation. It needs to be removed forthwith, permanently and done. This is not the first time she's opened her mouth and caused upset and offensiveness. She is just a horrible, horrible piece of filth. Anyway, following a backlash to her remarks, Miss Abbott apologised for any anguish caused, suggesting errors arose in her initial draft to the newspaper. Bullshit! Errors arose in the initial draft. You wrote what you meant, and you meant it, because you've got a history of hating people who are not black. Anyway, she said the errors arose in an initial draft being sent, but there is no excuse, and I wish to apologise for any anguish caused. So you admit that you wrote these things, even if it was a mistake. You admit that that's how you thought, because they were the words that come out of you and onto that paper. So you are anti-white racist. Diane Abbot, the racist. It's as simple as that. She says, racism takes many forms and is completely undeniable that Jewish people have suffered its monstrous effects, have as Irish people, travellers and many others. Once again, I would like to apologise publicly for the remarks and any distress as caused as a result of them. I don't want your apology. I don't want an apology from you, Diane. I want you to resign. You just hate everyone. That's all you've got in your life. Stupidity and hate. And they go together. You often find that. People who hate like entire races tend to be very low IQ. And that sums you up, doesn't it? In a piece for the New Statesman, Mr Owoladi said he had no personal animus or ill will towards the MP, but argued Labour were right to suspend the whip. After all the controversies of the Jeremy Corbyn years, when Labour became the second political party after the BNP to be investigated for racism by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, it is astonishing that a Labour MP and key Corbyn ally and lover would write in a public letter that Jews cannot be the victims of racism. Abbott understandably feels strongly about this. She has been the victim of appalling racism herself. I dislike her, not because she's black. I don't care she's black. I hate her because she is a hate-filled, ignorant, two-faced, nasty, brutish, horrible woman who opens her mouth, is stupid, but is offensive and thinks that what she does is virtuous and right, based simply on her victim-minded virtuosity. It's disgusting to behold. This woman needs to just go just out of the public existence, just disappear, become a private citizen and live a horrible, miserable existence for whatever years you've got left. Anyway, she said her response to my column showed a remarkable lack of judgment, and she doesn't have the excuse of a throwaway tweet or a Facebook comment. This was a public letter. She must have taken time to write it and send it in. He said the only positive to be gleaned from the sad story was how quickly Labour had acted and how universal the condemnation of Miss Abbott's comments had been. The Equality and Human Rights Commission ended its 3.5-year investigation into Labour over anti-Semitism in February, but Sir Keir has said the job of rooting it out is not complete. No, he needs to fire Abbott. It's still there. It's still bubbling under, and Abbott is the lead, of this thing. She is no different from anyone wearing a Hugo Boss suit in the 30s. She's a disgusting human being. Just get rid of her and let her go. Look at her, thick as two short planks. Look at the eyes. Hasn't got a thought in them, has she? Not a thought. That is an empty vessel, just spewing hate and venom. The sooner she disappears, the better. I'm coming up. Keir Starmer needs to grow a pair and grow them quick. He needs to phone Diane Abbot up today and tell her she's done. She's no longer a member of the party and that the party will not be backing her at the next election and that she needs to find alternative employment. Although, what could she do? I wouldn't trust her to stack shelves. If he doesn't, if he lets this fester on for a few days, then this sack of pus will suddenly think that she's going to be allowed back in the party. He will also be seen as weak and vacillating, and the Labour Party will be seen as perhaps it is anti-Semitic after all. And especially if she is admitted to the party. If she's admitted back, then the Labour Party will be seen as being no different from the National Socialists in Germany in the 30s. Seriously, what is it about socialists and anti-Semitism? It's a very, very strange thing. But we perhaps expect too much. I don't think Starmer has the balls to fire her. I think he is too weak. I think she will be back, and the Labour Party will officially become an anti-Semitic party the moment she's readmitted. Who will have the balls to fire her? I don't think anyone has. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, especially leave a like. That's the one that helps. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't write letters to the Observer, and goodbye.